My name is Amelia Walker, and this year, something extraordinary happened. I won the lottery. $20 million. And as fate would have it, my 68th birthday was just a week away. I had already planned everything in my mind. I would finally be able to give my children, Caleb and Sophia, the lives I had only dreamed of providing. After taxes, I'd still have enough left to buy each of them a luxurious home, and hand them a check for $1 million. For the first time in decades, I felt like I had something more than just love to give. Something tangible. I spent the entire week preparing for the big surprise. I cooked their favorite dishes, ironed the best tablecloth, even lit candles around the dining room. But as I sat at that long wooden table, watching the minutes tick by, no one came. The clock struck 10 p.m., and I was still sitting there alone. No balloons, no hugs, no happy birthday, Mom. Just the fading aroma of dinner and the echo of silence. I didn't know it then, but that night wasn't just the end of my birthday, it was the end of a lifetime of illusions. As the silence thickened that night, Amelia finally pushed back her chair and walked slowly toward the living room. The warmth of the food, now nothing more than a bitter reminder. On the coffee table lay 2 pristine real estate contracts, along with 2 checks, each written for $1 million. They were meant to change her children's lives, meant to be a surprise, meant to be a moment of joy. Instead, she tucked them into the drawer of her nightstand and sat on the edge of her bed, the silence in the house louder than ever. She closed her eyes, just for a moment. A sharp ringtone jolted her awake. It was her daughter, Sophia. Amelia's heart fluttered, a small hope flickering. She picked up the call. Mom, I'm so sorry. Work was insane today. I couldn't get away. It's too late now, so I'll just head home. You should sleep. Happy birthday. Before Amelia could respond, the line went dead. It was 11:47 p.m. Her son Caleb never called, never texted back. Amelia stood in the kitchen, wrapping up untouched plates of food, placing them neatly into the fridge as if pretending tomorrow might bring what today had failed to deliver. She placed the champagne glasses back into the cabinet and wiped the counter silently. By 1 a.m., her birthday was over. The next morning, Amelia checked her phone. No missed calls, no birthday messages. She sent another message in their family group chat. Dinner tonight. I have something important to share. Please come. No reply. Trying to stay composed, she went for a walk around her small suburban neighborhood. That's when she ran into her neighbor, Grace, walking her German Shepherd, Duke. You're usually out earlier. Grace smiled. Stayed up late cooking again. Amelia gave a tight, tired smile. Grace wasn't wrong. She always tried to cater to everyone's preferences. Spicy chicken for Caleb, sweet and sour pork for Sophia, gluten-free options for her granddaughter, Lily. She did it all, just to feel needed. Why don't you just book a nice place next year? Grace teased gently. A fancy restaurant can handle dietary needs better than your back can. Before Amelia could answer, a cold, sarcastic voice pierced the air. Oh please, Grace. Stop making her sound like some tragic saint. She loves playing the selfless mom act, but she's always bragging about how devoted her kids are. Pathetic. Evelyn, an old co-worker and longtime rival, was approaching. The disdain on her face cut deeper than the chill in the morning air. What happened to all that jewelry you used to wear? Evelyn sneered. Or are you finally realizing all that sacrifice gets you nothing? Amelia didn't respond. She was used to Evelyn's barbs. But what came next turned her world upside down. Evelyn pulled out her phone, shoved a video into Amelia's hand, and said coldly, "Watch this. Then tell me again how much your kids love you." The screen lit up, and Amelia's heart shattered. There they were, Caleb and Sophia, laughing beside her ex-husband Richard and his new wife Vanessa. A banner read, "Happy 25th anniversary, Richard and Vanessa," and her granddaughter, calling Vanessa grandma. Amelia stood frozen on the sidewalk, her fingers trembling as the video continued playing on Evelyn's phone. There, in vibrant HD, was Vanessa, the woman who had once been her husband's mistress, draped in a scarlet dress, hair elegantly pinned, laughing beside Richard, Amelia's ex. On the stage stood Caleb and Sophia, flanking their father with proud smiles. Behind them, banners fluttered. "Happy 25th anniversary, Richard and Vanessa. Happy birthday, Grandma Vanessa." Amelia's breath caught in her throat when she saw Lily, her 5-year-old granddaughter, clutching Vanessa's hand and looking up at her with adoration. "You're so pretty, Grandma Vanessa. Way prettier than my other grandma," she chirped. "Will you come to my school's sports day?" The video ended, but the world didn't come back into focus. Amelia handed the phone back without a word. The cold morning wind bit at her skin, but it was nothing compared to the chill inside her chest. You sacrificed everything for those two. Evelyn hissed. And this is how they repay you. Chloe gets the gold, the toasts, the titles. You get leftovers, if that. Amelia didn't reply. She just turned and walked home, each step heavier than the last. Her house, once a haven, now felt like a mausoleum. Inside, she collapsed onto the couch. Her throat burned. She'd held back tears for so long, but now they came, silent, endless, bitter. Her body shook as sobs tore through her. She reached for the drawer and pulled out the real estate contracts and the checks she had written in anticipation. One for Caleb, one for Sophia. Her hands trembled as she stared at them, her love made manifest, worthless in the end. She thought of all the years, the divorce, the loneliness, the exhaustion, raising twins with no support, scrubbing their clothes by hand in the winter cold, feeding them from scraps, staying up all night nursing them while Richard was away. Often with Vanessa, though she hadn't known it then. All of it, for what? Suddenly, something inside her snapped. She tore the checks in half, the paper slicing like blades. She shredded the contracts next, then slumped back in the armchair, breathing heavily. The doorbell rang. Amelia didn't move. Then a small voice echoed, "Grandma, are we playing hide and seek?" It was Lily, her granddaughter. Moments later, Caleb and Sophia walked in behind her, carrying a tiny cake topped with a blue cartoon figurine, Elsa from Frozen. "Mom," Caleb called cheerfully. "We're here. Time to celebrate." Sophia smiled, trying to sound casual. "Sorry we missed yesterday, we had to work." But Amelia didn't move. She just stared at them. For the first time, truly saw them. The rehearsed smiles, the calculated warmth, the same manipulation Richard once used. Now reflected in her children's eyes, she had loved them more than life itself. But maybe, just maybe, it had all been one-sided. Amelia's gaze drifted from Caleb to Sophia, then down to little Lily, who was bouncing on her toes, beaming at the cake as if nothing in the world was wrong. The small, store-bought cake was clearly Lily's idea, a child's sweet gesture. But Amelia wasn't looking at the cake. She was staring through it, through them. "Sit," she said softly. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. "I have something to say." Sophia and Caleb hesitated, exchanging a nervous glance, then slowly sat across from her. Lily climbed into the chair next to Amelia, humming under her breath. "You didn't come yesterday," Amelia said, "not because of work." Caleb opened his mouth to object, but she raised a hand. "Don't lie. I've already seen the video. The anniversary party, the toasts, the smiles." The air in the room froze. Caleb dropped his eyes. Sophia's lips parted, but no words came. "You could have told me the truth," Amelia continued, her voice unwavering. "But instead you made me sit in this house for hours. I waited for you, while you celebrated the woman who tore this family apart." Sophia's eyes welled up. "Mom, please don't do this. We didn't mean to hurt you." She reached for Amelia's hand, but her mother pulled away. "I gave you everything," Amelia whispered, "even after your father abandoned us. I worked 3 jobs, sold my wedding ring to keep the lights on, put every dream I had on hold so you could chase yours." Caleb looked up, his eyes red. "We know, we're sorry, we just thought." He trailed off. "You thought I'd always be here, waiting, forgiving." Amelia's voice cracked, but she didn't let the tears fall. "But I'm done." Sophia wiped her cheeks. "Mom, you don't get it. Dad has connections. He's helping me and Lucas with our new house. A job at City Hall, daycare for Lily. It's not just about love, it's about survival." "Then survive with him," Amelia said coldly. "Ask Vanessa for your wedding gift. Ask your father to buy you a house." Sophia's face twisted. "Are you seriously cutting us off?" "No," Amelia said, standing. "I'm setting myself free." She walked to the kitchen, grabbed the garbage bin, and dropped what remained of the torn checks and contracts inside. "You chose them," she said, turning back. "No, live with that choice. I won't be your backup plan, not anymore." Lily looked up, confused. "Grandma, aren't we having cake?" Amelia knelt in front of her and kissed her forehead. "Not today, sweetheart." Sophia scooped up the cake, her face burning with shame. "Let's go, Lily." As they turned to leave, Caleb lingered. "Mom?" She didn't answer. "Come on, Caleb," Sophia snapped. She made her choice. When the door shut behind them, Amelia sat down, alone once again. But this time, something had shifted. For the first time in her life, she wasn't mourning what she lost. She was reclaiming who she was. 2 days later, Amelia stood in the law office's waiting room, the soft ticking of a wall clock her only company. She clutched a neatly folded folder. Inside were updated documents for her last will and testament. When her name was called, she walked in with purpose. "I want everything," she told the attorney, "donated to charity. All assets, including real estate, savings, stocks, everything." The attorney blinked. "No next of kin." "I had children," she replied. "But they made it clear. I'm no longer their mother." That same afternoon, she returned to her quiet suburban home, packed a single overnight bag, and handed her house keys to a real estate agent. The house, where she had raised Caleb and Sophia alone, where she had cried herself to sleep countless nights, where she had waited by the window more times than she could remember, was no longer hers in spirit. It was just walls and memories. She moved into a cozy 2-bedroom villa just outside the city. A house surrounded by trees, with a small backyard and a stone patio perfect for quiet evenings. There, for the first time, she felt peace. She bought herself new furniture, a queen-size bed with a plush mattress, a kitchen stocked with ingredients she loved, not what Caleb or Sophia used to request, and a record player that filled the house with jazz. And then, on a whim one sunny Saturday, Amelia walked into a local pet rescue center. A shy gray cat curled up in the corner caught her eye. "I'll take him," she said. She named him Whiskey, after her favorite late-night drink. One cat became two became four, and before long, Amelia's home became a sanctuary, for herself, for forgotten animals, and for her soul. But she didn't stop there. Amelia had always dreamed of opening a bookstore cafe. Something warm, inviting, filled with stories and the rich smell of espresso. She had put it off for decades. First for her husband, then for her children. Now she chose herself. She purchased a downtown corner lot, renovated the space, and named it Second Chapter. The cafe was an immediate hit. Sunlit reading corners, monthly book club meetings, handcrafted lattes, and vintage armchairs that made people linger. She hired young students, some with disabilities, others from foster care programs. To them, she wasn't Ems Walker. She was Amelia, the kind-hearted boss who paid fair wages, asked about their day, and gave them chances no one else had. For the first time in years, she laughed. Real laughter, not the polite chuckles of someone trying to keep the peace. She had money, freedom, space, silence, and joy. Most importantly, she had herself. Amelia wasn't rich because of the lottery. She was rich because she had finally stopped waiting to be loved. And started living like she was enough all along. As the months passed, Amelia's cafe bookstore, Second Chapter, blossomed into more than a business. It became a beacon. Writers hosted open mic nights. Mothers brought their children to the cozy reading nook. Elderly couples played chess by the window, sipping spiced chai. People came for the coffee, but stayed for the warmth, and behind the counter, greeting everyone with calm grace, stood Amelia, no longer just a mother or a former wife, but a woman finally living on her own terms. She woke every morning to the smell of fresh baked pastries, and the soft purring of whiskey curled up on the windowsill. She took long walks in the park, she read poetry in the evening, she planted flowers in her garden. Not because anyone else liked them, but because she did. Her phone, once buzzing with desperate calls from Caleb and Sophia, now stayed silent. She had blocked their numbers months ago. But silence wasn't loneliness. Silence was freedom. It gave her space to reflect, to feel, to heal. One quiet afternoon, as she arranged books on a display table, her barista whispered, Amelia, that woman who used to come in here. The one with the fancy bags. I think that's her, but she looks different." Amelia turned to see Michelle, Caleb's ex-wife, standing awkwardly by the pastry case. She looked thinner, paler, her once polished exterior replaced by wary eyes and stiff posture. Amelia walked over. "Can I help you?" Michelle looked startled. "I didn't think you'd be here. I was just passing by." "I'm always here," Amelia said simply. There was a pause. Then Michelle's voice lowered. "Logan and I divorced. He wasn't who I thought he was. Chloe introduced him to someone else." She gave a bitter laugh. "Isn't that ironic?" Amelia gave no reaction. Just a gentle nod. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For how we treated you. I know it doesn't matter now." Amelia looked at her, really looked. "It does matter. Just not the way you think. It's not for me to forgive anymore. That's something you need to carry." Michelle nodded slowly, eyes glossy. Then she left, the cafe door closing softly behind her. Later that evening, as Amelia wiped down tables and dimmed the lights, she paused in front of a picture frame hanging near the register. Inside it was a quote she'd printed when she opened the cafe. "You cannot force others to love you, but you can love yourself fiercely." It had taken her a lifetime to learn that. She thought back to those long ago nights. Rocking crying babies, scrubbing laundry by hand, stretching every dollar, and wondered how she had survived. But she had. She had climbed out of heartbreak, betrayal, and abandonment, and built something real. Not for Caleb, not for Sophia, but for Amelia, and in doing so, she had become the kind of woman she used to admire in others: strong, gentle, unapologetically whole. One rainy evening, Amelia sat curled up in her armchair by the fireplace, a cup of chamomile tea warming her palms and whiskey purring on her lap. The cafe had closed early due to the storm, and for once she was grateful for the silence. That's when the doorbell rang. She wasn't expecting anyone. Carefully placing her mug on the side table, she opened the door to find Sophia standing there, visibly pregnant, her eyes red-rimmed and swollen. "I didn't know where else to go," she whispered. Amelia stepped aside wordlessly, letting her daughter in out of the rain. Sophia stood awkwardly in the living room, glancing at the walls lined with books and framed photos of the cafe's milestones. "I left him," she said suddenly. "Lucas, he cheated. He hit me. I'm 5 months along, and I couldn't do it anymore." Amelia said nothing. "I know I have no right to be here," Sophia continued. "I hurt you. I chose them. I chose convenience over loyalty. But now I understand." Her voice cracked. "You were alone. You were strong. I thought you were bitter. But now I see you were just surviving." Tears flowed freely. "I thought you abandoned us. But really, we were the ones who abandoned you." Amelia sat across from her. "Why are you really here?" Sophia hesitated. "Not for money. I swear. I don't want to be alone." There was a long silence. Then Amelia stood, walked into the kitchen, and returned with a warm blanket and a plate of freshly baked scones. "Stay the night," she said softly. "But understand this. My home isn't a revolving door. If you're here, it's to start again, from the ground up." Sophia nodded, clutching the blanket to her chest. In the weeks that followed, Sophia stayed. She worked part-time at Second Chapter, learned to steam milk properly, and took accounting classes at night. Slowly, she began to change, not just out of necessity, but because she wanted to be better. One morning, Amelia found a note tucked beneath the coffee grinder. "Thank you for showing me how to be strong without becoming hard. I hope one day I can become half the mother you are." Amelia smiled, tears threatening again. As spring approached, the bookstore cafe hosted a Mother's Day event. Poems were read aloud. Tea was served in fine china. Elderly women brought old photographs, and children scribbled cards in crayon. When it was her turn to speak, Amelia stepped up to the mic and said, "I spent a lifetime trying to be loved by others. I thought if I gave enough, forgave enough, waited long enough, they would choose me. But the truth is, we must first choose ourselves. It's never too late to become who you were meant to be. This cafe isn't just mine. It belongs to everyone who's ever felt forgotten, betrayed, or cast aside. Here, we begin again. And here, we thrive." The room erupted in applause, and for the first time in forever, Amelia wasn't just surviving, she was living. The greatest heartbreak doesn't always come from romantic betrayal. It often comes from those we love most: our children, our family, the people we'd sacrifice everything for. Amelia's story reminds us that love, when not reciprocated, becomes a prison. For decades, she poured every ounce of herself into others, only to be discarded when her usefulness ran out. But pain has a strange way of shaping strength. It teaches us boundaries. It teaches us who we are when we strip away roles like mother, wife, or provider. Amelia found freedom not in wealth, but in choosing herself. She learned that the most sacred relationship we will ever have is with ourselves. And so, even when it seems too late at 60, 66, or even 70, it's never truly too late to start again, to redefine your worth, to build something just for you, and to finally live, not for approval, but for peace. If you're reading this and you've spent your life giving to others, children, partners, family, without receiving the love or respect you deserve, take a breath, then take a step. You can reclaim your story, set boundaries, create something that brings you joy. Whether it's a garden, a small business, or just a quiet apartment filled with books and cats, you're allowed to choose yourself. Don't wait for apologies. Don't wait for recognition. Start now. Because you too can build your own second chapter. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that it's never too late to begin again. Comment below. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you love to protect your peace?